Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and it's Friday Night Live as we talk Ornstein's transfer bomber, Romano's potential, here we go, and is Jadon Sancho about to return to Manchester United? We're also going to talk about the logistics of Manchester United's Premier League position and how it could be worth 12 million quid, which is not to be sniffed at. And it's Friday Night Live, which means we will get into some of your questions as we kick back and look back at the week and Manchester United right here now. But we have actually got some interesting transfer stories coming in. David Ornstein says there's going to be signings, but maybe not where we think. Fabrizio Romano has pointed to somewhere else. And we've got this Sancho story overarching as well. So we'll get into all that early on in the show. But thanks to everyone who's joining us live. If you're not watching live, get in the comments. M. Parker says, if Amrin wins the second trophy there is with this team, you must keep a cardboard cutout of Amrin behind your chair for a week, says Parker. Okay, that sounds fascinating. Before we get into everything though, you can see it moving next to me. If you haven't downloaded the app, do it. Links in the description or scan the QR code. What's it all about? Cross-play fun. Well, it's powered by BetDAQ and it's the ultimate free-to-play football prediction challenge. You pick 9 match outcomes, home win, draw or away win. So pick a game like Man United against Leicester, away win, slot it in the middle there, if that's your banker for the week, and then do another 8 around it. You accumulate and score points by matching 3 in a row. So 3 across, 3 diagonal, 3 down. You can win by getting them all right, full house, but you accumulate your points for rows and your full house if you get that. There is 1 winner each week. It runs from Tuesday to Tuesday and then it resets. You get 5 entries per week, so there's more chances to win. Download the app, start playing in seconds, win real cash. 1 winner this week, £2,500. Use Lucky Pick if you need help with your selections, where it will auto-fill the 9 spots and you can change them however you like. As I say, it's free to play. You can play against us. There's a leaderboard. You can join my personal cross-play fun league and see if you can outscore me as well. Scan the QR code, go through the link in the description. Just another little bit of fun where you can win real cash prizes to add to your football experience. Free to play, link in the description, download the app or scan the QR code. And remember, you've got to be over 18. Terms and conditions apply. Always gamble responsibly, but it's free to play and you can win real cash prizes and get your selections in. So thank you very much to BetDAQ and Crossplay. Right, let's get into the show. And I want to start off talking about what David Ornstein has said. He said this in a Q&A this afternoon. I expect Manchester United to make a number of signings this summer, and it is unlikely that any of them will stay with their current club as Chelsea did with Kenda. Also, the right wing-back position may not be at the top of their summer agenda. So that's David Ornstein there. There is another update from Romano. We'll talk about that. And David Ornstein did talk about the Sancho situation. But I think we have to accept in a reality that we don't know what the budget is going to be for Manchester United this summer transfer window. We've got no concept of that. But it is encouraging to hear that Manchester United will be looking to make signings this summer transfer window, and, you know, by the sounds of it, quite a few. Now, look, I know it's got Kuna on the thumbnail, but I expect if David Ornstein is speaking like that Manchester United, we know, and the reason I take this significantly is that, and look, it's Friday night, chuck your questions, I'll answer anything, you know me. We know that when David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, and Ian says spin, we know when David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano talk about transfers and Manchester United, we know it's coming from somewhere very, very close to the club, if not the club. These were the only 2 journalists last summer that consistently got the drop. It was almost like the Chuckle brothers. To me, to you, to me, it was like United went, you can have De Ligt, you can have Mazraoui, you can have Agate, you can have Yoro. Nobody else got an in at all. The only other people that got an in was the Daily Mail, Chris Wheeler, and I forget the name of the other journalist because they obviously had it from Branthwaite's side. So they get briefed by the club. They get good information from the club. The question is, do you trust it? I like David Ornstein. I like Fabrizio Romano. I don't think you're going to put your name. My honest interpretation of this is you can be a club shill, you can be a client journalist, But also, I think reputationally, you're not going to say Man United are going to sign lots of players in the summer. I expect them to make a number of signings this summer. And then when we don't, people are going to remember that. So I think we can safely say we will make signings in the summer. And I take that for you, for me, to you, to me, I take that as a positive. I'm not going to skirt around the truth. I don't like the way the club's been run by the Glazers. I don't like a lot of the things Sir Jim Radcliffe's done. But I did like the summer transfer window last year, and that was on the watch of the Glazers and Ineos. I felt it took too long. I think it could have been better, but I don't think it was as bad as some people said. So I expect us to make signings in the summer. Daniel says, I think there'll be 4. I'll be honest, I can't tell you what I'm expecting, and I can't tell you what budget we're looking at. I don't know if we're going to buy 4 or 5 players for under 50 million quid, where 3 of them are free transfers and 2 of them are kids for about 15 million. I don't know. But the fact that we're looking to bring volume in, we'll have to just wait and see what the names are. But I am encouraged a little bit that I'm hearing numbers. I'm hearing we'll buy a few. The next question is to what quality? You know, if we're going to buy free transfers, you could get 8 of those and they could all be shit. If you're going to buy 18-year-olds, they might not be ready for 3 years. What ideally I would want is the guy on the thumbnail, Cunha, Premier League proven, mid-20s, straight into the team, yabba dabba do. What I'd like is Victor Osimhen up front, you know, straight into the team, experienced, yabba dabba do. What I would like is someone like Kenda, who's gone to Chelsea, but, you know, I want players that come straight into this team and are ready to go. That might not be the case. I think we're just going to have to wait and see over the coming days, maybe over the March international break, maybe beyond that, what sort of players we're actually talking to. But we clearly have a plan and we're clearly having talks. But at the moment, it's very hard to pin down what it is. I think the second thing I would say about what David Ornstein said, and if you're just tuning a bit late, I'll read it again. I expect Man United to make a number of signings this summer, and it's unlikely that any of them will stay with their current club as Chelsea did with Kenda. Also, the right wing-back position may not be at the top of their summer agenda. I think I had to read that twice, by the way. You know when he said it's unlikely they'll stay at the club like Kenda did with Chelsea? That just means that Kenda is staying at Sporting for another year. Man United are going to bring players in now. Now, I think that's a bit of a smokescreen. I personally think that Man United are trying to say, we didn't sign Kenda because he was staying at Sporting for another year. But that's irrelevant. That doesn't mean anything. Like, Kenda, if he wanted to come this summer to Manchester United and we'd met the price, he'd be coming this summer. So Chelsea have done some deal with Sporting where he stays there for a year. Because to be honest with you, Chelsea have got more wingers than Ryanair. And Manchester United would have needed him now. I think Chelsea have done a good deal with Kenda. I've seen people today going, it's a £70 million deal. It's 40 plus add-ons. You'd expect add-ons. But Kenda's a Chelsea player. My point is, we're going to buy players that are going to come in the summer. We're not going to buy players that are going to come the summer after, which is just logical. But what I found really interesting was he said the right wing-back position may not be at the top of their summer agenda, which I worry about, actually. I really do worry about that. I'd be interested to know what some of your thoughts are, because I worry about that. Mazraoui, for me, is better in the right centre-back position. I don't see Mazraoui as a right side. Those positions are meant to be wingers, really. In an Amorim system, they're meant to be wingers. You've got 3 centre-backs. You don't need 2 full-backs either side. You need, basically, wingers who can defend. And I think Dorgu, especially in the second half yesterday, he's shown that he's basically Alphonso Davies. He's Gareth Bale. Like, he can defend, but he can bloody attack. And we need that on the right-hand side. We need that on the right-hand side. And Delot, for me, is meh. You know, I like Delot. I was happy he scored yesterday. But, you know, when he was stood there going like that, I was like, mate, you've been shit for 6 months. I'm pleased you've scored a goal and you've got a celebration move. But in the WWE, like, I need you to be far better than what you have been for 6 months. And I actually look at Delot when he was good, and I don't think he's good enough. And I know that's a bit harsh, but even when he's good, I don't think he's good enough. I think he's absolutely fine to have at the club. He's a good lad. He works really hard. And I'd say it to his face, like, I'm not saying you're shit, mate. I think you've been bad for 6 months. But before that, you were really good. But when I think back to when you were really good, I still think we need better than that. So I'd like you to stay at the club to be, you know, you need the Delos, you need the John O'Sheas, you need the Wes Browns, you need the quality on the bench. But I think we need something on the right-hand side in this system that is massively transformative. So it's interesting, and I wonder if it's financial, why right wing back now might not be a priority. Because you know what I find interesting is that David Ornstein saying also the right wing back position may not be at the top of their summer agenda. And yet 6 weeks ago he was saying we were in talks with Kenda. So no Kenda, no right wing back. Is that what we're doing? And is that financial again? So I think we do need somebody on that side. I don't think Delo or Ahmad really are going to be the answer. I've heard people saying, well, we've got Leon and then Dorgu can go to the right. I mean, that just makes me laugh. Dorgu's not even established on the left-hand side yet, but we're bringing a lad in from Paraguay that's going to go straight into the team. We don't know how long it's going to take for him to adjust. So I would like to see us buy somebody out wide because we're short. And also, we're short there. Luke Shaw can't be relied on. Malassia's going to go. Dorgu's on the left. Mazraoui and Delo on the right. That's 3 players. You probably need 5. So I think we need to bring someone in as well. Apparently Diego Leon is only 17, says Greg. I actually thought he was 20 for some reason. Well, that makes it even more interesting. But ultimately, it will come down to money. I think that's what it will come down to. We'll talk about what Romano said in a moment. We'll talk about the Sancho stuff as well. But it is encouraging that David Ornstein thinks we'll bring a number of players in. The interesting thing is, what players are we going to bring in? I mean, I think you're pissing in the wind and the wind's blowing against you if you think Onana is going. I mean, you never know. Shocks can happen, but I think in summer one, it should be transformative. If you think about Mourinho's first summer, Pogba, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan, Bailly, you look at Ten Hag's first summer and how much we spent there. You look at Ollie's first proper summer and how much we spent there. There should be a big spend this summer. I mean, I'd love Kubo. Trevor, I'd love Kubo. Ross McRae Magician says, with the way Amrin was talking Subamendi pre-match last night, I thought it would have been made into a transfer story. Would you take him or Kubo? Look, I'd like Kubo. I've liked him for a couple of years. I think Liverpool are looking at him. I've seen us get linked to Vlahovic from Juventus, who I'm only going to spend a few seconds on Vlahovic. I always get mixed reports on Vlahovic. Some people tell me he's potentially one of the best strikers in the world, and then some people have told me he comes with a lot of baggage. I think he will leave Juve in the summer, but I think you'd have to be in the Champions League for him. So I've heard stuff about him. Zubamendi, I don't know how that deal would even happen. It reminds me a little bit of De Jong with Ten Hag. Obviously, I heard what Amrim said about Zubamendi, and I think he would bloody love him at Manchester United, and I think we'd all love him at Manchester United. He's a bloody good player. I thought Liverpool had him last summer. I thought Arsenal had him in January. Maybe he will end up somewhere else, but I'd heard it was going to be Arsenal. But he's a very good player, but I don't see us being able to afford him, and if we're not in the Champions League, he wouldn't come anyway. If Amrin wins the Europa, Glinios could turn around and say, you were starting to get something out of these players. We don't need to spend so much, as Scott Page. Simply Red says, have more respect for Amrin for admitting he's improving his understanding of players and learning how to use Casemiro. Big of him admit to use that, says Simply Red. But you know what, mate? I don't agree, actually. Not in a bad way. I don't agree. I think he's learning to use Casemiro in a way he doesn't want to use, in the way he doesn't want to play. If you play Casemiro in a team and just get him to sit there and, pass the ball, you'll be fine. And I think he suits the European games more. And he suits the Arsenal game where we're sitting back. But I think when you're going to play someone like, Leicester or the majority of the Premier League, his lack of legs is going to be a problem. We're not going to magic Casemiro into what he was in the first year. So I think Amrim's been very clever in the way that he's utilised Casemiro, and Casemiro has responded to it. But we're not going to get that Casemiro back that I loved in the year one. He just hasn't got the legs for it, has he? Need a right wing back who can keep up with Dorgu's intensity, says Almost Malone. What do they mean by numbers? 2 is a number and so is 7. Nothing specific, and I doubt we'll bring in more than 4 players, says Brandon. Yeah, but you know what, Brandon? 4 players to some people might be quite a positive. I mean, I agree, we need 8 or 9. We're not going to bring that many in, but the way they've been talking, I was actually starting to get worried that we might not even bring 4 in. I mean, 4 could be useful. But look, we'll have to wait and see. Ahmad is a similar profile to Quenda. Maybe they sees him as the right back solution. I mean, Andrew, I completely disagree. I'm sorry. I don't think Ahmad's a similar profile to Kenda at all. I really don't. I think Kenda is more like Saka. And I think Ahmad is more like a Bernardo Silva type of player. I think Ahmad's more creative. I don't think Ahmad defensively is that good. I like Ahmad. I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't think he's anywhere near the profile of Kenda. I think Kenda is like, he's basically just, you know, attacking wing back with good defensive. But I don't think he's a similar player to Ahmad at all. I think I worry about Ahmad defensively. I think I'm happier with Ahmad playing at the 10. Even though I think he can do the right wing-back position. I think that works when you're attacking. I think when you need to defend, I think Ahmad's better in the 10. How's your stomach, Mark? Says Swish. It's getting better by the day, mate. It is getting better by the day. I'm starting to feel a lot better, actually. Is it wrong to think that our upper limit is about 40 million? Volume makes me feel like Angel Gomez, Jonathan David are the types we'll be looking at. I think this is an intelligent take from Patrick. I mean, look, I'm just going to keep saying it. For me, now that Kenda's off the equation, my dream summer signing in reality is Cunha, or Cunha, however you pronounce it. I just think he is the dream signing for Manchester United. I think he's ready to take the step up. I think he's a leader. I think he's passionate. And I think he fits into an area of the pitch where we desperately need a player that's strong and can use the ball. I don't necessarily think we'll get him. I can see him going to a rival and strengthening them. But that's the sort of signing I would like Man United to make. I'm not saying go and sign Frankie de Jong or Alphonso Davies. I think those or even Zubimendi. I think those sort of players are above us. I don't think we're at that level yet. But I do think Acuna would be a really good signing for us. But maybe that's too optimistic. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe Patrick Lynch is right. Maybe people who are worth 50, 60 million just won't happen. Maybe our upper limit is going to be 40 million and we are going to be bringing Jonathan David in on a free and Angel Gomez in on a free. And the problem with those players is that I think Angel Gomez is a good player and I think Jonathan David is a good player. But are we getting them because they're free or are we getting them because they're plan A? And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, Angel Gomez and Jonathan David are the sort of players that we'd go for because they're free. And if we had £400 million, I don't think we'd go for those players. And that worries me because what you're effectively doing is you're going for the best players that fit your limited budget. And when you do that, you're competing against teams that don't have limited budgets and go for the best players they can buy. And Sir Jim Radcliffe said a year ago, we're looking for best in class. And I don't think free transfers are best in class. I think free transfers are best you can afford. And that's very different. Best in class is not the same as best you can afford. You know, there's 2 shops on the high street. If you walk into Waitrose, you've got money to spend. If you walk into Aldi, you'll get good products at a cheaper price. And I think that is a difference. And you can have a pop at me for it. But what I'm saying is, we've been told by Sir Jim Radcliffe a year ago in an interview, they were looking for best in class. A year later, it feels to me like we're getting a very different message from Barada and Sir Jim now about not wanting to spend too much money and therefore you can't polish a turd. And in football, you get what you pay for. You might get a real diamond in the rough for free, but a lot of the time, you get what you pay for. With no baggage. Oh, here we go. What's this? With no baggage and it cut off. Let's go back to this. Done that one, done that. How's your stomach? Done that one. With no baggage, would Sancho under Amorim work? I'm going to talk about Sancho and Ibra. I don't want him anywhere near our football club. That's my opinion, but I'll talk about that. How are you feeling, Mark? Says Josh. Hope you're feeling better. Well, I can tell you how I'm feeling. I am feeling better, and I'm on my second can. So I've not been down the pub because I can't walk. But we're getting there. Nice end to the week. Very, very happy that we got through last night, mate. That's the big thing. Other couple of comments here. Is it not weird the club used AI to generate the stadium pictures? I think that's not a finalised design at all. We're being tricked by concept art, says Hazo. As I said this morning on Twitter, you know, woke up this morning. Chelsea have stolen Kenda from us, but we've got concept art of a stadium that we might never build. So who's the real winner? Chelsea got Kenda, but we've got pictures of a stadium that might not get built. I think you know, sit down Chelsea. If we get 4, that should fill our priorities: centre back, CDM, CM, and right wing back. What about a striker, Manny? Jonathan David would be the best striker at the club, says One Inch Wonder. And how do we stop whoever we sign from the toxic room, says Constantine. Stretford Enders just gifted a membership. Remember, it's Friday night if you want to gift memberships. Big shout out to Stretford Ender. And Simply Red says he meant that by using mobile defenders like the ones used yesterday, it's more suited than someone like Harry who can't play high line and has no pace. Good point. Well done. Touche. Can you call my mate Adeem a bum, says RH. And Ben Markham with a super chat says, just an off-topic point, is there a way of showing how many people vote on the player ratings each game, similar to the polls that you do, says Cheers Mate, says Ben. Well, there is, yes, because we've got, I would say on average, about 12,000 people vote on that. But that number's going up all the time because it used to be a lot more, but we now have a sign-up process, so it's gone down a little bit. But I think with the player rating system, subjectively, and it's Friday night, so I'll answer your question, subjectively, a player rating system, I think as long as you've got over 1,000, it's fine. Because... look, I've done player ratings on my own, and people go, I don't agree with that. I mean, I was looking at Manchester Evening News player ratings last night. When one person does it, it can be quite agenda-driven. I was looking at the Manchester Evening News player ratings last night. They gave Mazraoui a 7, Heaven an 8, and De Ligt a 6. And we don't need to name the journalist, but we know he's got an issue with De Ligt, don't we? So I think as long as you get over, I mean, you could argue 100's fine. Just as long as you've got, I think about 100's fine, as long as everybody's voting honestly, because it will average fairly. What you don't want is about 10 people and 4 of them are Liverpool fans. You know, you don't want Manchester Evening News journalists voting either. Rob, Always United, just gifted 5 memberships. Mojo's gifted 10. Evening to both of you. And Patrick Lynch says, do you think we'll look more in the South American and Asian markets? Amorim has been said to want players who can play with intensity. Players from there can be found with that quality for cheaper, maybe, says Patrick. Mate, the world is the planet we inhabit. I don't really care. I mean, it's not even a statement. I couldn't give a toss where we buy players from. It really doesn't matter. You know, we've had some amazing players. Chicharito, Mexico. Ji-sung Park, South Korea. You know, we've had amazing players. Mazraoui, Morocco. You know, Kagawa, Japan. I really don't care where we sign these players from. Just get the best we can get. Best in class, not best we can afford. I said it once and I'll say it again. Mark's back before Shaw and Mount. What a legend, says Gems. Hope you're doing well. It's not weird that done that one from Hazo. Okay, right. Let me talk to you about what David Ornstein said about Sancho, because we did get a question about Sancho there. We've got an update from Romano as well, but let me just show you what he said about Sancho. He said, in relation to Jadon Sancho and his return to Manchester United, it was a conditional obligation to buy. So firstly, those conditions must be met, and then Chelsea can decide against going through with the obligation by paying a fee. So technically, he could return to Manchester United, but that was not the aim of any party when he embarked upon this deal. Let's see if that remains the case or changes, which obviously would be a big story. So what Ornstein is saying is that there is an obligation to buy if Chelsea finish in the top 14 in the Premier League, which they're clearly going to do. So Chelsea have an obligation to buy Jadon Sancho, and I believe it's £25 million. There is a get out. They can send him back, but there would be a fee attached to that. I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's a few things I would say here. First of all, I'm going to do a poll. Would you want Sancho back? As it's a possibility, would you want Sancho back? And we'll answer that one in a moment, so you can get voting. What I would say is that if Jadon Sancho ends up coming back to Manchester United, what is the point in an obligation to buy? Like, why did we get told when Sancho signed for Chelsea that there was an obligation to buy and led down the garden path that was him gone? Because Jadon Sancho earns in excess of 300 grand a week and still has a year left on his deal. So when we saw this deal to Chelsea, which some of us were a bit uncomfortable with, player with a point to prove going to a rival. I remember I said, no, don't do it. Well, we did it, and we lived with it on the thought that, well, he's gone. His wage is gone, and 25 million is fine. So it's a bit of a kicker that actually Chelsea could go, we don't want him, we'll pay the fine. Now, if the fine's 25 million, yabba dabba do. But if the fine's like 5 million, we're in trouble. If Chelsea just have to give us 5 million for Sancho to come back, we're in trouble really, because then we're like, we've got to, that does, what I'm trying to say is that Jadon Sancho earns 300 grand a week. Let's say 300 grand a week, which is 1.2 million pounds a month. Over 12 months, that's in excess of 15 million quid, or about 15 million quid. So if he comes back, contractually, we've got to pay him £15 million in wages. So the obligation to buy is 25 million. If Chelsea can give him back and pay a fine, surely that fine is 15 million to cover the fact that we've got to pay his bloody wages. But I bet it's not. I bet it's less than that. So look, I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know. But I had hoped that Sancho was Chelsea's problem and not ours. It will all come out in the wash, but if we end up having him back and we don't get a lot of money from it, then it's another problem to solve. And people will say, well, he'll never play for Man United again and we'll get rid of him. But if we've got to get rid of him, go back to what Ornstein said about players that we're going to sign, players we want to sell. We haven't got infinite resources. So if Sancho comes back, somebody's got to negotiate his sale. Someone's got to try and do, and it just takes time away from maybe negotiating other sales or negotiating other buys. So I don't want Sancho back, because whether he comes back and we get rid of him or whether he comes back and stays, that's a double negative. Because if he stays, I don't want him here. And if he goes, we've got to find a deal which takes up our resources. So effectively, I hope he ends up staying at Chelsea. But the ironic thing is, when he went to Chelsea, many people were telling us that Sancho's cooking. He couldn't even, well, if he's cooking, it's a bloody salad. And it's a salad bag from Sainsbury's that comes pre-prepared. Because it ain't hot and it ain't that good. So, look, I've seen a few people on social media sort of gloating, saying, we told you, he ain't that good. I really just want him to go to Chelsea. I don't want him back. As for him coming back to Man United, no. I know there are a few Sancho FC, Player FC fans out there, but God, no. Why would you take a player back that didn't do anything in a Man United shirt for 2.5 years, then went to Chelsea, spoke about fucking freedom, slagged us off every bloody chance he could subtly on bloody Instagram, and then Chelsea want to get rid of him? I mean, how bloody embarrassing. This is meant to be his glow up. This is meant to be his point to prove. And he's coming back because Chelsea don't want him. I mean, come on. He can't come back to Man United. Absolutely not. GGMU says, Ornstein on fraud watch, Sancho details and Kenda. Toe Jam says, I think the technical quality of the Premier League is mediocre. A couple of decent transfer windows and United may not be as far off as we think, says Toe Jam. The quality of the Premier League is mediocre. I don't think it is. I think the quality of the Premier League this year is very competitive. Where I would agree with you is that I truly believe that Amorim's system with the right players would be very difficult for a lot of teams in the Premier League to deal with. But I'm not reinventing the wheel there. I'm not hitting any breaking news. I'm hitting you with Slow Sports news. I said this when we got him. I think his style of play, when it's executed properly, is very difficult to deal with. And I think that if we can provide him with the players that can play the system, I would expect us to comfortably be in the top 6 in the Premier League on a consistent basis. I don't think we'll win it. I don't think we can say he's going to win league titles, but I think his system and tactics are so effective that with the right players, he will get us in the top 6. But that pisses me off even more, because I'm like, I genuinely believe, confidently, that we have a manager and a system that in the game at the moment would be really destructive. But you got to give him the players. And if they don't give him the players, he won't be that. So I don't believe the Premier League is overhyped or whatever. I think the Premier League is very, very strong. But I think if I can envisage what a Man United side could be under Amorim, and if we had it, I can see us in the top 6, yeah. But he's got to be given the players. Ethan has gifted 10 memberships. He's a legend of the chat. Thank you very much. Bruno has to go. He's another Gerrard and Lampard, says John. Who would you rather have ownership of United, Elon Musk or Qatar? Says Miguel. I mean, look, I will preface this by saying that I don't necessarily care who the owner is. The owner, what I said a couple of years ago was that Manchester United need a billionaire owner that is relentlessly wanting to invest in the team and take it back to the top of football and doesn't want to make profit. You know, it's got to be Project Man United from a billionaire that just wants to make Man United great again. So, really, whoever would do that doesn't matter to me. But if I had to pick between Musk or Qatar, I don't know, mate, because I'll say one and people will go, because they're more politically minded than me. I'm not really finger on the pulse of Qatar or Elon Musk, to be honest with you. So flip a coin. Strikers cost big bucks, and in my opinion, Højlund will come good and Obi Mikel will be there. I don't think we can spend on a striker given we need those other positions, says Manny. Well done. Fair play for coming back on that. I mean, I think we will buy a striker, and I think a lot of fans will be surprised if we don't. I genuinely agree with you. I think Obi Martin is a really exciting prospect. I still believe Rasmus will prove a lot of people wrong, hopefully at Manchester United. I don't think Xerxes is a striker, so I don't think he's even in the equation. Therefore, I think we need another striker anyway, because if Rasmus got injured or Obi Martin got injured, you'd have one striker. So I think we need a third striker anyway. Random guy, hope you're doing well, says, can we afford buying players and keeping our own? And quality isn't cheap. No point taking a step forward and taking 2 steps back. Thoughts? I think so much comes out in the wash of how much our transfer budget is, mate, really. I think the intriguing thing for me, when you look at what David Ornstein's saying about he's confident that Man United will bring players in, there's no mention of names. And yet 6 weeks ago, he was talking about Kenda. So I think that when I look at it now and he's just saying I expect them to bring players in, we don't really know what those players are going to be. And I think that's the thing that sort of interests me at the moment, is that who are those players going to be? And what are the value going to be? Is it going to be like Patrick Lynch says? Is it going to be free transfers like Gomez and David, which they'd be welcome? Look, if Man United signed Jonathan David and Angel Gomez in the summer, how would you feel? Honestly. Breaking news. Man United, here we go. Terms agreed. Angel Gomez and Jonathan David are joining Man United in the summer. How would you feel? Say how I would feel. I could see them signing for Brighton. I could see them signing for West Ham. I could see them signing for Aston Villa. I couldn't see them signing for Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. Newcastle, I could see them signing for as well. Now, I've given you a wide range of clubs there because they're that sort of player. I could see Jonathan David signing for Newcastle or West Ham. I could see him signing for Brighton, but I couldn't see him signing for Arsenal or Liverpool or Man City. And that's the thing for me. We're playing catch up. And I don't know that Jonathan David and Angel Gomez give us enough catch up. And their age profile, mid-20s, I think both that Angel Gomez is probably a little bit younger. But that might be the level we're boxing at. We might not be able to go any higher than that. Fabrizio Romano, sorry, I've not even brought his story in. He says today, in recent days, Man United have started to seriously consider and discuss bringing in another centre-back this summer. United directors have started making calls to inquire about players available. That's a very significant update. I'm sorry I brought it in a little bit late. We've had an Ornstein bomber and we've had a Fabrizio leak as well. And Fabrizio did very well on the Kenda deal, by the way. Dropped that at about 4 o'clock this morning. So, yeah, fair play. Look, I'm a little bit concerned that we might not be prioritising a right-sided wing-back, whatever you want to call it. But a centre-back to me is logical. I mean, I'm not like, take my breath away. It's not Top Gun time. I'm not like, oh my God, we're going to sign a centre-back. For me, it's completely logical that we would look to buy a centre-back, and probably a right-footed centre-back, if we're being completely honest. We will have Heaven next year. We will have Maguire next year. And we will have De Ligt next year. And we will have Yoro next year. Martinez, we've got no idea about the return and the stability of his fitness, considering the amount of injuries he's had in the last 2 years. Lindelof will go and Johnny Evans will go. So effectively, you've got Heaven, Maguire, De Ligt and Yoro. In that system, Mazraoui can play in there as well. But I think you need to bring a centre-back in. I would say you would bring in a young centre-back. I would say you would be looking at maybe a 20-year-old from somewhere with potential. You don't need to bring in a first-teamer. You don't need to bring in an experienced centre-back. You've got De Ligt. You've got Maguire. So, look, I'd be encouraged by that. And I wouldn't care if we brought in a 19, 20-year-old. I know we've been linked to the Fenerbahce lad. But, look, for me, interesting update from Romano, but a centre-back is somebody that I would look to be bringing in, yeah. Thank you very much. But as I said, at the moment, I'll always be honest with you, there's been times... It's funny, actually, I was putting together a couple of meetings today because we've got the Dublin show on Wednesday in Dublin, funnily enough, the 10-year United Stand show. So I've been doing a bit of like organising for that, thinking about the show, etc. And 10 years of the United Stand is incredible, isn't it, really? I don't know where the time's gone, what a journey. But anyway, if you're going to be there on Wednesday, fantastic. I think we have got a few tickets left, I think. Might be worth checking, link in the description if you want to be there. But my point is, I think over the last 10 years, there has been times where we've had really good scoops. Like, some of you might only been subscribed for the last few weeks, but some of you might have been here for years and you'll know this. Alexis Sanchez. We were ahead of the game on that. We actually had the story on Alexis Sanchez. We were way ahead of the game on that. There's a bit of a running theme here, just in relation to how good they ended up being. Anthony, we broke that in the June, a week before any English clubs leaked us to him. Rasmus, we were very good on as well. I mean, there's been a few deals over the years that we've had good info on. And that happens. You know, other people get good info. I'm not saying United Stand gets exclusives. We sometimes do. But what I will say, not anymore. Not anymore. God, it is what it is. And I'll always be honest. Like, I don't trust anybody other than Ornstein and Romano, really. And if I find anybody, I'll go fair play, because the club have locked it down massively. You can't sit here and go, yeah, we'll definitely get this player, we'll definitely get that player. Because we tried that last summer and it just didn't work. So I can't tell you who we're going for. And I don't believe anybody that says we're going for that player either. Because I think they're just plucking it out of the air. That's why for me, I would say I can talk about players that I would like, and I would love Cunha this summer. That would be a player I would love to buy. Edison, I would like him. It's a player I've liked for a long time. But striker, I would like Gyökeres. I mean, that would be my number one. But I don't see us getting those players. Edison's going to cost you 50 million quid. Cunha's going to cost you 50 million quid. Gyökeres is going to cost you 50 million quid. And I might have undervalued them by 10 each anyway. So we're not buying those types of players this summer. So I genuinely don't know what we're going to do. There's an element of excitement, but there is almost an element of fear as well, because I might see Gyökeres sign for Arsenal. I might see Cunha go to Liverpool. I might see Edison go to Man City, and we might end up with Angel Gomez on a free, Jonathan David on a free, and some 19-year-old centre-back. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect, but by the sounds of it, we're going to do something. GGMU says, Suarez and Kane played alongside very average players with limited funding, but were able to get their teams into title contentions. We need a top striker. When was Spurs ever in a title race? How many of you had to drink? I've never heard such bollocks in all my life. Suarez played with bloody Sturridge and Sterling and Gerrard. And Harry Kane's never been in a bloody title race in his life. What the hell are you talking about? The closest they ever got into... No, come on. I know what season you're talking about. You're talking about the season Leicester won it, because everyone else was shit. And guess what? Spurs didn't even finish second. They finished third. Arsenal finished bloody second. Don't give me a title race, Leicester. That season, everybody was shit. And Leicester deserved their praise. But Spurs finished bloody third. Didn't finish second. Title race, my arse. Lucy Swan says, do you think the system itself has the potential to make players better? I'm beginning to think Amrin might actually be able to polish a turd. No, I don't, Lucy. I absolutely don't. No. I don't think you can polish a turd. I really don't. I don't think that you... I've always been firm on this. I think if a system was able to polish a turd, Pep Guardiola wouldn't need to spend £100 million on players. Like, I don't think there's a system in the world that can make players good enough. I think you've either got it in you or, you haven't. Simple as that. So the plan is to have Ahmad play as right wing back or Dalot and bring some hipster signings for the number 10 and 9. Or did I miss something? Is Andre Gomez? Well, we don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't. Would you want Sancho back? 87% say no and 13% say yes. The scary thing about that is, who is the 13%? It's a democracy, but... check their hard drives. I don't know. Are they Liverpool fans? I don't know. Mark, just able to tune in now, says AJ Tills. I'm pumped to be there on Wednesday. There's likely a joke here about having the crowd in stitches, but I won't make it. At least the next round in Europe is sewn up for now. He's having a laugh. Yeah, I can't wait for Wednesday night. Really looking forward to it. What a venue it's going to be. And yeah, really looking forward to it now. Something to look forward to in the international break. What do you think about Rayo's... I don't know who that is, DXM. I'll say again, David is better than our strikers, says 1 Inch Wonder. I'm sure a lot of American fans don't want to see Elon as an owner, says Kyle. And if Sancho apologises, would you welcome back, says Keystone. No. No, I think we've welcomed Sancho back too many times. I don't actually think he's that good. I don't understand why he's not succeeded at Chelsea. Apparently he had a point to prove, he had freedom, and he was cooking. So I don't want Sancho. The worst thing Man United can do is bring players back that have failed and take a chance. We can't risk any more. We've got to turn a new page. Why can't we go for Jude Bellingham and Yamal, says Patrick. Accepting this freedom fighter back into the team will send the worst message ever. Moments like these will show our players the culture is changing, says YT. And with our defence and new keeper, teams wouldn't score, says Parker. What finisher would you rather receive? Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stone Cold Stunner, or the Undertaker's Stoomtone pile driver? Ben the Tank. What, we're doing this for a clip? If it's Goldbridge getting a finisher move, I think the Stunner would be good as a clip. Talent of the Prem is nothing like our day in the 90s, says Boom Shack. I tell you what, I did watch... Look, this is a different video, but I watched I was watching United. I can't remember what season it was. It wasn't 99. I was watching a season review a couple of weeks ago. And I was watching United, obviously. And you know what? I don't know why they don't do it. I actually don't know why they don't do it. But the speed in which we move the game, the speed in which we move the ball in the 90s compared to now, we moved the ball quicker. You know, they say the game's slower in the past than it is now because players are fitter. We moved the ball a lot quicker in the 90s than we do now. Now, I don't know whether that's the same. I presume it's the same with Man City and Liverpool, but the game was a lot more frenetic in those days. Like, you watch Scholes and Keane and Stam and Beckham and Cole, that they're moving the ball a lot quicker. It was a lot quicker, the game. It was a little bit more frenetic. You know, there's a lot. But you know what? More was going on. More chances, more mistakes, on crapper pitches as well. It doesn't get discussed enough. Like, the game was a lot quicker and a lot more direct. And I'm not talking about hoofball. There was some good passages of play. And Irwin was playing, so it's not the noughties, really, because Irwin had gone to Wolves. So it was good. Good. I thought there was a pre-agreement that if Chelsea finished above 15, there was a clause to buy him regardless. There is, Paul, but apparently there's a bolt hole in it. Majority of his Americans love Elon. Okay, it's gone political. Thank you, Sashi. I made Mark laugh again. I'm beginning to think I made a good choice signing here. The legendary Mark Goldbridge loves me, says Patrick Dorgu. I think Goldbridge would be a submission move, says Perk. And Sancho has had more comebacks than Rocky. Get rid, says Blair. Premier League players are nowhere near the 90s or noughties, says Boom Shaka. We've done that one. You can polish a turd, but you can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter, says Manny. Carl says, you say I'm daft, but I'd love Sesko as the number 9 and Cunha as the 10. Fival knows them well. I don't, mate. Arsenal are linked to Sesko. I don't think Sesko at Man United is a player that anybody should be turning their nose up at all. Yeah, I mean, Sesko, it'd just be too expensive. I think the congestion of games is getting worse every year. We need a large squad, says Mohammed. We do. I think that's going to become more and more prevalent over future years. That reminds me, actually, I was on the show. It was on the press conference show I did earlier. I'll actually go to it now so I can read it out. So, effectively, Amrin was asked a question in the press conference earlier. Check it out if you've not seen it, whereby he was asked about the Premier League. Obviously, we know the Europa League's massively important, but he was asked about the Premier League, and he was asked about how important it is where we finish financially. And actually, it's quite interesting because at the moment, are we 14th in the league? So we would get £20 million if we finished 14th. But if you finish 10th, you get 31. And if you finish 11th, you get 28. And if you finish 13th, you get 12th, you get 25th, 25, 13th, you get 22. So basically, quick maths, if you, wherever you finish in the league, for every position you finish higher, you get another 3 million quid. Well, I couldn't give a rat's arse about the Premier League because I want to rest players for the Europa League where we can win a trophy, get in the Champions League and financially earn about 80 million quid. But we do have owners that might be saying, Ruben, an extra £3 million could be quite useful. Now, considering we're cutting 40 grand a year from a charity, suddenly that £3 million makes a difference. So I just wonder, actually, what pressure there is from above for Amrim to actually do well in the league as well. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory, but for me, if I was the owner of the football club, do you go rest players in the Premier League, focus on the Europa League, you might not win it? Or do you go, don't rest players for the Europa League, go strong in the Premier League and both, and we'll risk the injury because if we move up the league, it's 3 million every time. It's one of those, isn't it? As Scott Page says, the owners would look down the sofa for £1. It's 3 million quid at the end of the day. I don't think the way the club's being run at the moment that they're just going to say to Amorim. I mean, I can see a situation where, you know, Newcastle away, sandwiched between Lyon, you play the kids and the reserves and you lose, and they go, what the hell are you doing? If we'd have won that game, we'd be 2 places up. That's £6 million. It's sad, really. It's sad that even... I mean, I'm embarrassed to say this. I mean, fucking hell. We're 14th or 15th or 13th in the league, and we're actually having a conversation about picking a strong team for the rest of the season because we might earn £3 million. I mean, what are we going to do? Yabba dabba doo! We finished in 13th. That's £3 million more quid. I mean, I couldn't give a... It's so depressing, like Rufus says. 13th in the league. Oh, no, we finished 12th. It's another £3 million. I couldn't give a toss. It's embarrassing. For me, if you're below 6th, it's embarrassing. Can't remember last summer when we finished 8th. Even when we won the FA Cup, all our replies were from Arsenal fans going 8th, even when we won the FA Cup. It was embarrassing finishing 8th. Look at where we are now. We're nearly doubling it. So I couldn't give a toss about, just I couldn't give a toss. Go all out for the fucking Europa League and Premier League, play the kids. Love the show, says Philip. I'm new here. Well, you're very welcome, Philip. Thank you for joining in. Anand says, 1 centre-back, 2 midfielders and a striker, and I think that's all we're going to buy. If I had four, I'd get 1 centre-back, I'd get 1 midfielder, I'd go for a right-sided player, and a striker. I'd go without the 10. So I'd go centre-back, midfielder, right wing-back, striker. But that's not, I do want a 10. I mean, ideally, I'd be buying 7 or 8. But if I can only have 4, centre-back, midfielder, right wing-back, striker. I think they're my 4 priorities. I don't disagree with John that we need a keeper, but I just can't see it happening. I think thank you very much to Mohammed. David's profile on a free would be a steal for us. He is 25. He has an excellent record for Lille. Can also play as a 10. Got 13. I like Jonathan David SG, but he's one of those players that seems to have been a player for 4 or 5 years that no one's ever bought. My worry with Jonathan David is he's been available for £40 million for about 18 months and no one's gone near him. He's been available for £50 million for about 3 years and no one's gone near him. I don't get that. I don't get why everyone's known about Jonathan David for years and no one goes anywhere near him until he's free. And that worries me a little bit. Would you be happy just succeeding as a cup team, says Parker? Only this season. Andrew Podolka says, what's your favourite season review to watch back other than the treble? Mine is the 02-03 season when we picked Arsenal to the title. I love it. I mean, the 08 season's very good. Portsmouth, just very annoying. But I gotta be honest, I'm older than probably you, so I really enjoy going back to the seasons that I vaguely remember but witnessed. So, and probably because they weren't televised as much. Like, if you go back to like early 90s, most of the 90s, we didn't have as much TV coverage as you get now. So, I mean, I love the 96 season. Did the double. The story of the 96 season is so good. That was the one where we lost to Villa on the opening day. You can't win it with kids. I thought we were going to have a bad season. Cantona was suspended, didn't come back until the Liverpool game. Newcastle were 12 points clear. Keegan in his headphones, 12, and we won the double. It's a really good. In fact, I might watch it again tonight. I think that's one of my favourites because it's. I think the 95-96 season is. Look, when you've had the 99 season and the 08 season, of course it's going to happen. But that season was symbolic because it was a change. It was the first changing of the guard. It was the team that had won him the titles the first time, and the Inces and the Kanchelskis and the Hugheses went, and then the kids came through. So it was the first transitional team. It was the birth of the class of '92, really. So yeah, I'd say 95-96 is probably one of my favourite ones. I like the 94 season as well. I think that's a good one. Yeah, another double. Should have done the double in 95. Ride out Everton in the cup final, and bloody Cole had a shit game at West Ham and Blackburn won it at Anfield. But we can't be greedy. God, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself. If you're of a certain age, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself in the 90s. You wouldn't believe what was going on. Music was brilliant, TV was brilliant, film was brilliant, and Man United were brilliant. What a time, what a time. Chelsea want to sign Ipswich Town striker Liam Delap this summer, says John Stewart. I don't think we'll get Delap. I don't think we'll get Jonathan. I don't think we'll get Liam Delap. I can't see it. I've never... Look, I might be right. Look, as I said, nobody's got any info, so I can't say we definitely won't. In the past, I'd say, yeah, definitely not getting him. I don't think we'll get Liam Delap because I think that there'll be a lot of people looking at him. He's Premier League proven in a shit team. He's young and he's English. I think other clubs will look at him, and I'm not talking about Chelsea. I'm talking about West Ham. I'm talking about Brighton. I'm talking about Villa. I'm talking about Newcastle. I think there'll be enough clubs looking at Liam Delap that we won't be able to do the deal we want. We're going to struggle to do deals when there's competition because we haven't got any bloody money. We'd be saying to Ipswich, can we buy him for £40 million and give you £8 million over 5 years? And also, can we wait till the middle of August till we've sold a couple of players? Whereas a West Ham might walk in and go, there's £40 million up front now. We won't be... This is what's happened with Chelsea. Like, Chelsea have gone in and gone, there's the money, there's the deal you want right now. And Man United have gone, we can't do that until we've sold a player. So I don't see us getting Liam Delap because I think there'll be competition. I think any player that there's competition for, we're going to struggle. Dennis says, offer United 10% of the Manscaped sponsorship and they'll get you Amarim on every morning podcast, says Dennis. And why not buy players from Chelsea? They have a huge supermarket of talent, says Mohammed. Yeah, but who would you buy from Chelsea? Seriously, who would you take from Chelsea? They're only going to give you players that they don't want. And I've seen the players that they don't want, and I don't want them either. There we go. I'll be an experienced striker to help Hoyland, says Philip. Thank you very much. What's worse, Cena's heel turn or the new Old Trafford, says Druv. And it's probably going to be mostly young players, with the main marquee signing being someone like Mateta. Expect mostly Dorgu-esque signings this summer, says Omar On. We should call them Glazios. The majority of the ownership is Glazer. Glinios looks like they have 90% of you. Look at the proper portion of names, says Paul. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Look, I've overrun a little bit tonight, but it's been a cracking show. I've really enjoyed it. I love the Friday night show. Thanks everyone who's got involved. Thanks for all your super chats. Thanks for smashing a like on the video. We were meant to put up an interview today that Beth did with Rob Dawson from ESPN. Really interesting stuff about the transfer window, about the stadium. It's going to go up tomorrow at 2. I'll do the morning show and then we'll put it up at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So thanks everyone for watching. That's still to come. Brilliant community. Can't wait to see some of you on Wednesday night in Dublin. If you haven't got a ticket, try and get one. You might get lucky. And yeah, looking forward to the next few days. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. And don't forget to play crossplay. Free to play. Links in the description. Scan the QR code. I think you'll really enjoy it.